The twin suns of Aloria cast long golden shadows over the grand arena of the Sky Citadel. The arena, carved from a single massive crystal, shimmered in the light, reflecting every movement of the crowd that had gathered to witness the trials of valor. Alien warriors of towering height, glittering armor and sharp predatory eyes filled the seats. Their languages, a mix of clicks, hums, and melodic tones, echoed like an otherworldly symphony. From her position on the high terrace, Lyra, the youngest and most daring of the Citadel's elite warriors, leaned forward. Her long arms crossed over her chest. She watched the entrance, waiting for the next challenger. Lyra had always been confident in her abilities. Born into a lineage of warriors who had never known defeat, trained since she could walk, and admired for her skill in combat and strategy. She smiled faintly, anticipating the usual contestants, strong, disciplined, and predictable aliens who followed the expected patterns of battle. But today, something different appeared. The massive gates of the arena swung open and a figure stepped through. The crowd murmured, confusion rippling like waves. He was human. A lone human. At first glance, he seemed ordinary. Not tall, not muscular, not adorned with intricate armor like the others. He wore a simple dark suit, reinforced only slightly at the shoulders and knees. His hair was dark, his eyes sharp, and his posture straight. He moved with quiet confidence, but there was nothing about him that screamed warrior in the eyes of the alien spectators. Lyra blinked. Then she laughed. It was a sound like wind over metal, sharp and incredulous. The laughter drew the attention of those nearby. "Look at him," she said to her companion, "a fellow warrior named Torin. Does he even know what he's walking into? He's small, fragile. He'll be crushed before he reaches the first challenge." Torin chuckled, though he did not look entirely confident. "Humans are strange," he said. "They think courage alone is enough. It never is." But Lyra's laughter hid a flicker of curiosity. There was something different about this human. He did not appear afraid. His eyes scanned the arena calmly, his shoulders relaxed. He did not flinch at the towering alien staring him down. The announcer, a tall alien with a voice that resonated like a drum beat, boomed across the arena. "Challenger, step forward. Prove your worth in the trials of valor." Kale, the human, took a slow step forward. He looked toward the audience, then at the first obstacle ahead. A wall of shifting, glowing panels that moved unpredictably. He inhaled deeply and whispered to himself, "All right, let's see what you've got." Lyra raised an eyebrow. He whispered to himself. Most warriors relied on instinct, raw power, or advanced algorithms embedded in their armor. Not Kale. His confidence was quiet, internal, and it unnerved her more than any loud roar could. The first trial was a test of agility and speed. The moving wall shifted faster and faster, and alien warriors who relied on brute strength stumbled or miscalculated their jumps. Kale, however, timed his movements carefully. He studied the pattern, observed the smallest gaps, and leaped with precision. His body moved fluidly like a practiced dancer. The crowd grew silent, then whispered, then gasped in astonishment. Lyra's laughter faded. She watched, her heart pounding in a way she had not expected. The human, small as he was, moved with a skill that matched, and in some moments surpassed the finest warriors of her clan. "Impossible," Torin muttered under his breath. By the end of the first trial, Kale had cleared the wall flawlessly. Some aliens clapped, though most stared in disbelief. Lyra, however, could not tear her eyes away. There was a rhythm to his movements, a calmness in his mind that no training or armor could teach. The next trial was one of strength. The contestants were tasked with lifting and maneuvering enormous stone blocks into a precise formation. Alien muscles bulged, their claws gripping, yet many struggled with coordination. Kale approached the first block and paused, studying it. Then, with a calculated effort, he used leverage, angles, and the shifting weight of the block to maneuver it into position. It moved slower than the aliens, but it moved correctly. Lyra felt her respect growing. This human was not like the others. He did not rely on pure strength or raw power. He relied on thinking, on planning, on observation. And that was something alien warriors rarely did. They depended too much on their natural abilities. The final trial of the day was the most dangerous, a simulation of a predator known as the Stormfang, a creature designed to test fear itself. Its holographic form was massive, with glowing eyes, serrated claws, and a roar that shook the very ground. Alien warriors had trained their entire lives to face it. Kale had trained, well, he had trained differently. The Stormfang lunged. The aliens hesitated, calculating, some too afraid to move. Kale's instincts kicked in. He sidestepped the holographic claws, used the environment to block the creature's advance, and created openings for the others. Then, when the simulation's programming forced a surprise attack, he saved Lyra herself, pushing her out of the way of the predator's swipe. Lyra stumbled but recovered, her eyes wide with shock. Why did you save me?" she demanded, her voice a mix of anger, disbelief, and awe. Kale smiled faintly. "Because I can," he said simply. "And because some battles aren't just about winning. They're about surviving, and helping others survive." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt a strange mixture of humility and admiration. She had laughed at him when he entered the arena, but now she could not deny his skill, courage, and intelligence. After the trials, Kyle was escorted to the ceremonial halls of the Citadel. Lyra followed silent. She had many questions, but the one that troubled her most was simple. How could such a small, unassuming human do what no alien warrior had ever accomplished? The halls were filled with echoes of history, massive murals depicting past champions, statues of heroes, and holographic records of battles that had shaped Eloria. Kale walked beside Lyra, taking in the grandeur but not overwhelmed by it. "You're different," Lyra finally said. "Most humans would have panicked or run. Or worse, died," Kale shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe humans just see the world differently. Fear isn't always the enemy. Sometimes it's a guide." Lyra shook her head, still unsure what to think. She had always believed in the superiority of her people. She had been taught that humans were clever but weak, fragile but persistent. Yet here was a human who had not only survived but excelled. And he had done it without arrogance, without cruelty, without the need to prove dominance over others. Her laughter, once sharp and confident, had been replaced by silence, a silence filled with a new, unfamiliar feeling: respect. As the twin suns set behind the towering peaks of the Citadel, the arena glowed with a golden light reflecting off Kale's calm face. Lyra realized that this human might change everything she had ever believed about strength, courage, and the human spirit. And somewhere deep inside, she felt a spark of anticipation, a curiosity about what the next trials would bring, and what secrets this human might carry with him into the future. Little did she know this was only the beginning. The true challenge was not the trials themselves, but the journey that would follow. A journey that would uncover hidden truths, forgotten lineages, and a connection between them that no one could have predicted. For now, the audience cheered, the alien warriors whispered, and Lyra watched quietly, wondering if she had just witnessed the rise of something extraordinary. The next morning, the sky above the Sky Citadel glowed with soft pink light, casting long shadows across the training grounds. The air was alive with anticipation. Kale, the human who had surprised everyone the day before, prepared for the next stage of the trials of valor. The first trial had been a test of agility, the second of strength, but today's challenge would be unlike anything he had faced before, a test of strategy, endurance, and courage under pressure. Lyra arrived at the grounds early, her golden armor glinting in the rising sun. Her eyes, usually calm and measured, betrayed a spark of curiosity. She had spent the night thinking about the human warrior. Kale's ability to move with precision, to think ahead, and to act without fear was unlike anything she had ever witnessed. For the first time, she questioned the lessons she had been taught about human weakness. The arena was a sprawling labyrinth of platforms, suspended bridges, and shifting energy barriers. Holographic predators and traps moved unpredictably, testing the contestants' ability to adapt. Dozens of alien warriors had trained for this, many for years, yet few had survived without injury. The announcer's voice echoed through the Citadel. "Contestants, the trial of valor begins. Prove that your mind and body are worthy of the title champion of Eloria." Kale stepped forward calmly. His eyes scanned the labyrinth. Unlike the other warriors, he did not charge forward recklessly. He paused, observed the moving barriers, the positions of the platforms, and the shadows that hinted at hidden traps. Then he began. The first section required crossing a series of narrow, floating bridges. The bridges swayed dangerously, and one misstep could mean a fall into the energy field below. Most alien warriors leapt with brute force, relying on their strength and long limbs. Many slipped or misjudged the distance, Kale, however, walked steadily. He calculated each step, using his balance and timing to match the bridge's movements. When a bridge tilted suddenly, he adjusted, shifting his weight with precision. Lyra watched, unable to hide her astonishment. She had expected him to struggle, yet he moved with a quiet confidence, as if he had already mastered this obstacle. The next challenge was a series of gates that would close rapidly unless the correct sequence was entered. The gates were programmed to test pattern recognition and memory under stress. Alien warriors trained to rely on instincts and brute logic hesitated, pressing the wrong panels in panic. Kyle studied the symbols carefully. His human mind worked differently. He noticed small hints in the design, patterns in the timing, and solved the sequence faster than anyone expected. Lyra followed him closely. She could see the other warriors growing frustrated, some even yelling in anger. Yet Kale remained calm, almost serene. She could not understand how someone so small, without advanced alien enhancements, could surpass seasoned warriors in both agility and intelligence. Then came the most dangerous part of the trial, a simulated predator known as the Shadow Claw. Unlike the Stormfang from the previous day, the Shadow Claw was smaller, faster, and more unpredictable. Its holographic form darted across platforms, blending with the shadows, attacking with precision. Many warriors panicked, swinging blindly at its shifting form. Some fell. Kale did not panic. He observed. He noticed the pattern in the Shadow Claw's movements, the slight pause before it struck. When it lunged at him, he sidestepped, grabbed a nearby chain, and swung across a gap to land behind the predator. Then he used his environment, shifting a platform slightly, triggering a holographic trap, and forced the Shadow Claw to retreat. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She had trained all her life to face predators like this. She had never thought a human could do what Kale had done. Her admiration grew, mixed with something she had not expected: respect. After defeating the Shadow Claw, Kyle approached the final section, a puzzle that required both strength and intelligence. A massive energy cube blocked the path, too heavy for any single warrior to move with brute force. Many tried using raw strength only to fail. Kale examined the cube carefully. He noticed a lever at the base, a small gap where he could insert a metal rod to shift the weight. Using leverage, timing, and precise movements, he managed to slide the cube aside. The audience erupted. Alien warriors stared in disbelief. Even Lyra felt her usual confidence shake. She had laughed at him before, but now she could not deny the human's ingenuity and courage. He had passed the trial not because he was stronger, but because he was smarter, faster, and more adaptable. After the trial, Kyle did not celebrate. He simply walked to the edge of the arena, observing the reactions of the other warriors. Some looked shocked, others angry, but a few, like Lyra, looked impressed. "You are remarkable," Lyra said, finally approaching him. "Most warriors would have panicked or given up, but you adapted, you survived, and you excelled. How?" Kale shrugged, a small, humble gesture. "I don't know, I guess. I just think differently. I pay attention. I don't assume things are impossible until I try." Lyra studied him. "You are not like the humans I have read about. You have courage, yes, but also wisdom. Strength without wisdom is useless." Kale smiled faintly. "And wisdom without courage is meaningless." Their words hung in the air, a quiet moment of understanding. Lyra realized that her initial laughter had been misplaced. She had underestimated the human warrior, and now she could not deny his ability, his intelligence, or his spirit. Later, in the ceremonial halls, the warriors were given a moment to rest and reflect. Lyra followed Kale, still curious, still amazed. She had trained for decades, yet this human had surpassed her in ways she could not have imagined. It was then that Matriarch Solara, Lyra's mother and leader of their clan, observed them from a distance. Her sharp eyes, trained to notice even the smallest details, lingered on Kale. There was something familiar in his stance, his movements, even in the shape of his hands. Something that stirred memories of a long-forgotten lineage, a connection she had never thought would appear again. As Kale rested, unaware of Solara's scrutiny, Lyra could not shake a feeling of curiosity. Questions bubbled inside her mind. Who was this human? Why did he possess skills beyond what anyone expected? And what secrets might he carry with him? That evening, the twin suns set in brilliant streaks of orange and purple. The city around the citadel glowed softly, the crystal spires catching the last light. Kale and Lyra stood together on the balcony overlooking the city, You don't seem like you belong here, Lyra said quietly. You are human, far from your homeworld, and yet you move as if you understand this place. Kale gazed at the horizon. Maybe a home is not always a place. Maybe it's a purpose. I am here because I was meant to be. That's all I know. Lyra considered this. She had always believed in destiny, in the guidance of lineage and training. But Kale's words made her think differently. Perhaps courage, ingenuity, and spirit were stronger than any lineage, stronger than any tradition. Unseen by them, Matriarch Solara turned away, deep in thought. The human before them was more than a challenger. He was a link to the past, a key to a future that no one had anticipated. And she knew that soon, truths would be revealed that could change everything, not just for Lyra and Kale, but for all of Aloria. As night fell over the citadel, the stars of distant worlds shone bright. Lyra, standing beside Kale, felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. The trials of valor were not over. The real test, she realized, was only beginning, and somewhere deep in her heart she knew this human would not just survive. He would leave a mark that no alien warrior could ignore. The day after the trial of valor, the Sky Citadel buzzed with excitement. News of the human warrior Kale had spread across Aloria. Whispers followed him wherever he went. How a human had survived obstacles that seasoned alien warriors could not. How he had saved Lyra from danger. How he had moved with intelligence and courage that no one had expected. Lyra walked beside him through the ceremonial halls, her golden armor gleaming under the soft light of the crystal walls. She had spent the night thinking about Kale, and for the first time in her life she questioned her own beliefs. Humans were considered clever but weak, fragile but persistent, and yet this human had proven her wrong in every way. You really surprised everyone yesterday, Lyra said quietly. Even me, I didn't expect you to handle the trial so well. Kale shrugged as though it were nothing remarkable. I only did what I had to. Observing, thinking, acting, that's all anyone can do. Lyra frowned slightly. But it's more than that. You seem different. You don't panic, you don't rely on strength alone, and you help others even when it puts you at risk. Kale smiled faintly. I suppose it's just how humans are. We value more than just strength. We value others. Lyra stared at him. His words were simple, but they carried weight. She realized that humans' greatest strength was not muscle or power, but spirit, compassion, and cleverness. And in Kale, all of these qualities were evident. Later, the warriors gathered for a ceremonial feast in the grand hall of the citadel. Long tables stretched across the room, laden with food from countless planets, fruits that glowed, meats with strange spices, and liquids that shimmered with light. The alien warriors ate with precision, carefully maintaining honor and etiquette. Kale, unfamiliar with the customs, observed quietly, tasting each dish with curiosity. Lyra sat beside him. Do you like it? She asked. Kale nodded. It's different but good. You aliens know how to enjoy a meal? Lyra smiled. We have traditions. Everything has meaning, and even the way we eat. But you seem at ease. Kale's gaze swept across the hall. Maybe I just see things differently. I don't need rituals to understand respect. Lyra considered this. He had a point, and she admired his calmness in a world that often valued ceremony over reason. As the feast continued, Lyra noticed her mother, Matriarch Solara, watching Kale from a distance. Solara's piercing eyes were filled with something unusual, a mix of curiosity, concern, and recognition. Lyra followed her mother's gaze, puzzled. Why is she looking at him like that? She whispered. Perhaps she is. Studying him, Kale replied softly. Leaders always study newcomers. It's how they learn what is important. Lyra nodded but could not shake a feeling of unease. Her mother's interest seemed different this time, more personal almost, familiar. After the feast, the warriors were invited to explore the Hall of Records, a massive chamber filled with holographic archives of history, battles, and the lineages of Aloria's greatest warriors. Lyra led Kale through the hall, pointing out records of past champions and ancestors of her clan. Kale moved silently, studying the holographic displays with interest. You have an impressive history, he said. Your people have achieved so much. Lyra's chest swelled with pride. We have, but history is only part of who we are. It tells us where we came from, but not who we will become. Kyle nodded thoughtfully. True, It's what we do now that matters. As they walked, Solara approached quietly, her presence commanding attention even without words. She stopped before Kale and Lyra. "Kale," she said, her voice calm but firm, "you are not just a challenger. You carry something important, something I have waited for centuries to see again." Kale looked at her, puzzled. I don't understand." Solara gestured to a large holographic display behind her. Images of warriors, humans, and ancient battles filled the space. She pointed to a figure, a human with striking features, strong posture, and an aura of authority. This man was a hero who bridged the gap between humans and aliens. His legacy shaped Aloria, yet his line was believed lost. Until now, Kale's eyes widened. "You mean, I'm connected to him?" Solara nodded. "Yes, your presence here is not coincidence. You are the last living descendant of this warrior, and your connection to Lyra is more than chance. You carry blood that was thought gone." Lyra felt a chill. Her mother's words were like a thunderbolt, shaking the foundation of what she knew about her own family. What are you saying?" she asked, voice trembling slightly. Solara looked at her daughter, her expression softening. "He is your father." The words hung in the air, shocking Lyra. She could barely comprehend them. The human she had laughed at, the one who had challenged her expectations and fought beside her, was her father? How could this be possible? Kale, too, struggled with the revelation. He had known little of his own origins, had lived with the sense of being ordinary in a vast universe. Yet now he realized that his heritage was intertwined with this alien civilization in ways he could never have imagined. Silence stretched between them. The hall of records, filled with centuries of history, seemed to grow heavier with meaning. Lyra stared at Kyle, searching his face for answers, while Kyle tried to process the truth of his own identity. Solara finally spoke. "You must understand, both of you, that this knowledge is powerful. It changes everything, not just for your lives, but for the balance of Aloria. Your bond is rare and it carries responsibility. You cannot ignore it." Lyra took a deep breath, her mind racing. "Responsibility? What does that mean?" Solara's eyes softened. "It means that you must learn from each other. Strength is not enough. Wisdom, courage, and unity will guide you. The trials you face are only the beginning. Greater challenges await, and the fate of many may rest in your hands." Kyle nodded slowly. "I understand. I may not fully grasp it yet, but I will do what I can." Lyra's anger and disbelief had begun to fade, replaced by a quiet resolve. She realized that her connection to Kyle, though unexpected and astonishing, could become a source of strength. Together, they could face the trials ahead, whatever they might be. Over the next days, Kale and Lyra spent time training and learning from each other. Lyra taught Kale advanced combat techniques, showing him how to move with agility, strike with precision, and anticipate attacks from multiple angles. Kale in turn shared human strategies, ways of thinking that combined creativity, problem-solving, and adaptability. Lyra found herself fascinated by his approach. His methods were unorthodox yet effective, often achieving results that her traditional training had overlooked. Their bond grew stronger. They laughed together, shared meals, and even sparred playfully in the training grounds. Lyra discovered that beneath Kale's calm exterior was a sense of humor and warmth, a humanity that made him both relatable and admirable. Kale learned to respect Lyra's skill, discipline, and courage, understanding that her confidence was born of both training and experience. Yet in the quiet moments, when they were alone, both of them thought about Solara's revelation. How could they reconcile the truth of their connection with the world around them? How would their people react to a human and an alien, father and daughter, united in ways no one had imagined for centuries? As night fell, Lyra and Kale stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons of Aloria reflected off the crystal towers, casting a serene glow over the landscape. "You know," Lyra said softly, "I never thought I would meet someone like you. Someone who could challenge everything I believed, and still remain calm and kind." Kale looked at her, eyes thoughtful. "I never thought I would find a place where I belong, or a family I never knew I had." Lyra smiled faintly. Maybe we can face whatever comes next, together." Kale nodded. "Yes, together." Unseen by them, matriarch Solara watched from her chamber above. She knew that the bond between Kale and Lyra was only beginning to reveal its true potential. The challenges ahead would test them in ways that neither could imagine, but she also knew that together, they held the power to reshape the future of Aloria. And as the stars of distant worlds shimmered above the citadel, the spark of a new legacy began to shine. A legacy forged from courage, unity, and the unexpected strength of a human warrior. The halls of the Sky Citadel were unusually quiet that morning. The golden light of the twin suns poured through the massive crystal windows, illuminating the polished floors and ancient murals that told stories of warriors long past. Lyra walked beside Kale, her mind heavy with questions. After Solara's revelation, the world they knew had shifted. "You've been quiet," Kyle said gently, noticing her silence as they approached the sacred chamber. "Thinking about what your mother told us?" Lyra nodded, her gaze fixed ahead. I can't stop thinking about it. How can it be true? How can you... My father?" Kale placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I don't know yet, but I promise we'll figure this out together, one step at a time." The chamber door, carved with symbols older than memory, opened before them. Inside, the air shimmered with energy, and holographic images of ancestors flickered like living memories. The walls displayed warriors in proud poses, humans and aliens alike, their eyes filled with determination and courage. Solara stepped forward, her presence commanding and calm. "Welcome," she said. "This is the Chamber of Legacy. Here the truths of our lineage are preserved, waiting for the ones who are ready to understand." Kale and Lyra exchanged a glance. The weight of the moment pressed upon them, but neither flinched. Solara gestured to a holographic image of a human warrior, strong, noble, and unmistakably heroic. "This man," she said, her voice steady, "was a hero who united humans and aliens long ago. His wisdom and courage brought peace to worlds torn by conflict. He was your father's father, Kale, and now his blood runs through you." Kyle's eyes widened. "You mean I am descended from him? And I didn't even know?" Solara nodded. "Yes, the lineage was thought lost, scattered across the stars. But your survival, your arrival here, proves that the line continues. And Lyra?" Her gaze softened, but her voice held authority. "You are his daughter. By blood, by heritage, and by destiny, you carry his strength." Lyra's mind spun. The man she had laughed at, the human warrior who had amazed her with skill and courage, was her father. The truth was both shocking and exhilarating. She had always known that her family's history was powerful, but she had never imagined such a connection. You are saying we are family?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kyle nodded slowly. "It seems so. I don't know what to say." "This changes everything." Solara motioned for them to step closer to the holographic displays. "Look at your ancestors, their battles, their victories, and their sacrifices. They lived not just for themselves, but for the future of others. Their courage and wisdom are your inheritance." Lyra studied the images. She saw humans and aliens fighting side by side, defending worlds, protecting civilizations. And at the center of it all, she saw the human warrior, her father, Kyle's ancestor, standing tall and unyielding, a symbol of unity and strength. Kale reached out to touch one of the holograms, and a surge of energy flowed through him. Memories, knowledge, and visions of battles long past filled his mind. He saw strategies, acts of bravery, and the bonds formed between humans and aliens. It was overwhelming, yet he felt a deep connection, as if the courage of his ancestors was guiding him. Lyra watched him, her own heart pounding. She realized that this connection was not just about blood, but about spirit. Kyle's presence, his courage, and his intellect were a continuation of a legacy that had shaped Aloria for centuries. "You carry more than strength," Solara said, her voice echoing in the chamber. "You carry wisdom, courage, and the potential to unite worlds once again. But you must understand the responsibility that comes with it. Your actions will shape the future, not just for yourselves, but for all of Aloria." Kale nodded, determination settling in his expression. "I understand. I will not waste this chance. I will do everything I can to honor our legacy." Lyra felt a surge of emotion. She had trained all her life to be a warrior, to uphold her family's honor. But now she realized that honor was not just about strength or skill. It was about courage, intelligence, and the ability to inspire others. And together she and Kale could achieve what no one else could. Solara guided them to a central pedestal, where a holographic map of the galaxy appeared. "This is where your journey begins," she said. "Threats loom on the horizon. Conflicts, tensions, and dangers that could destroy the fragile peace we have fought to maintain. You must prepare, learn, and unite. Your bond is the key to survival." Kale studied the map, noting planets at risk, fleets in motion, and signs of unrest. "We have a lot to do," he said quietly, determination in his voice. Lyra placed a hand on his arm. "We'll do it together. I've underestimated humans before, but now I see. Your strength is not in muscle or armor. It's in your mind, your spirit, and your heart, and I will fight by your side." Solara smiled, a mixture of pride and relief. "Good. You must trust each other, for the trials ahead will test not just skill but unity. Alone, you are strong. Together, you are unstoppable." The chamber doors opened to the light of the citadel, and the world outside seemed different now. The knowledge of their connection, of their shared legacy, had changed them. They were no longer just a warrior and a human challenger. They were family, bound by blood, courage, and destiny. Over the following days, Kale and Lyra trained tirelessly. They honed their skills, combining human ingenuity with alien techniques. Kale taught Lyra strategies that relied on creativity and adaptability, while Lyra shared combat techniques that relied on precision and strength. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, not just as warriors but as father and daughter discovering each other for the first time. Yet the world around them was not idle. Other warriors watched with envy and suspicion, some questioning the legitimacy of their bond. Humans, still rare in Aloria, were often underestimated, and many feared the implications of Kale's lineage. Whispers of prophecy and destiny circulated, hinting that the human and alien alliance could shift the balance of power across the stars. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the citadel, Lyra and Kale stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The lights of distant towers shimmered like stars, reflecting in their eyes. "I never imagined this," Lyra said softly, "that I would find a father, and that he would be someone like you." Kyle looked at her, a mixture of humility and pride in his expression. "I didn't know I had a daughter, and now that I do, I will do everything to protect you and our people." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of belonging she had never known. The laughter she had once directed at him seemed distant, replaced by respect, trust, and an unspoken promise. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Solara, watching from her chamber above, knew that the revelation had changed everything. The human warrior was no longer an outsider. He was part of the lineage, part of the legacy, and part of the future of Aloria. The next trials would not just test their skill or courage, but their unity, their wisdom, and their ability to rise above fear and doubt. As the night deepened, stars twinkling across the sky, Kale and Lyra remained on the balcony, silent but connected. They knew that challenges awaited, and that the revelation of their bond was only the beginning. But together they had a chance to reshape history, to honor the legacy of their ancestors, and to prove that courage, spirit, and unity were the greatest strengths of all. And so, in the quiet of the citadel, under the light of distant worlds, a new chapter began, a chapter of discovery, of courage, and of a bond that could change the fate of the galaxy. The Sky Citadel was alive with tension. Rumors of unrest had spread across Aloria. A group of alien factions was preparing to challenge the fragile peace that had lasted for generations. The human presence in the Citadel, unusual and unexpected, had drawn suspicion. Kale and Lyra, bound now by blood and purpose, knew that their next challenge would not be a trial of skill alone, but a test of strategy, courage, and unity. In the war room of the Citadel, holographic maps projected the positions of fleets, armies, and settlements. Matriarch Solara stood at the center, her presence commanding as she addressed Kyle, Lyra, and a council of trusted warriors. "The factions are planning attacks on key worlds," Solara said, her voice steady. "Their goal is to destabilize Aloria. If they succeed, the peace we have built will crumble." Kyle studied the maps, noting the vulnerabilities. "We need a strategy that uses both human ingenuity and your people's strength. We can't rely on brute force alone. It will be too risky," Lyra nodded. "We can combine our abilities. We know the terrain, the defenses, and the enemy's likely tactics. If we work together, we can outmaneuver them." Solara's eyes softened with pride. "You have learned well. Remember, the enemy underestimates humans. That is an advantage we must use. Over the following days, Kale and Lyra worked tirelessly, coordinating with the Citadel's warriors and blending human strategies with alien combat techniques. Kale's ability to think outside the box to anticipate moves and adapt quickly complemented Lyra's skill in combat and leadership. Together they created a plan that no one expected, a coordinated defense and counterattack that relied on both cunning and strength. The first attack came at dawn. Alien fleets approached the outer planets expecting minimal resistance. But Kale's plan was precise. He had anticipated their approach, setting traps, decoys, and ambushes that neutralized their advantage. Lyra led teams of warriors in daring strikes, moving with speed and precision that surprised even the enemy. Kyle observed from the control center, guiding movements and adjusting plans in real time. His calm, strategic mind allowed him to see opportunities others missed. The human warrior, once laughed at for his size and simplicity, now orchestrated a defense that rivaled the most experienced commanders of Aloria. By midday, the enemy fleet was in disarray. Ships collided, formations broke apart, and commanders struggled to regain control. Lyra moved among her warriors, inspiring them with courage and confidence. Her eyes met Kale's through the communication lens, and they shared a brief nod, silent, yet full of understanding. "You are incredible," Lyra said as she moved through the battlefield, directing her team. "I never imagined a human could think like this." Kyle smiled faintly. "I've learned from the best," he replied, thinking of Lyra. "And we are stronger together." As the battles raged, Kale and Lyra discovered something even more significant. The enemy underestimated the power of unity. Humans and aliens working side by side could overcome forces far larger and stronger. Their combination of intelligence, courage, and adaptability became a force no faction could ignore. During a critical moment, one of the enemy leaders attempted a bold strike at the Citadel itself. The fleet moved with speed and precision, aiming to breach the outer defenses and sow chaos. Lyra acted immediately, leading a small team to intercept the threat while Kale coordinated the Citadel's defenses from the control center. The battle was intense. Energy blasts lit the sky and the hum of engines filled the air. Lyra fought with skill and determination, moving faster than anyone thought possible, protecting civilians and warriors alike. Kale's strategic guidance allowed the defenders to anticipate each move, turning the enemy's strength into their weakness. In a daring maneuver, Kale directed a group of smaller ships to flank the enemy fleet, cutting off their retreat. Lyra's team struck from above, creating a perfect trap. The enemy fleet, confused and disorganized, was forced to surrender. The skies over Aloria were quiet once more. The Citadel erupted in celebration. Warriors cheered, families hugged, and for the first time humans were recognized as equals, not outsiders. Lyra and Kale stood together on the balcony overlooking the city, the twin suns casting a warm glow over their faces. "You did it," Lyra said, her voice filled with awe. "You really changed everything." Kyle shook his head. "We did it together. It wasn't just me or you alone. It was everyone working together, trusting each other, believing in something greater than themselves." Lyra smiled, feeling a sense of pride and belonging. "I used to laugh at you when you entered the arena. I thought you were weak, ordinary, nothing special. But now that I see the truth, humans are strong in ways we never imagined. Stronger even than we ever realized." Kale looked at her, warmth in his eyes. "Strength isn't just about muscles or power. It's about courage, heart, and the willingness to do what's right even when it's difficult." Solara approached, her face beaming with pride. "You have proven more than skill or courage. You have shown the true meaning of legacy, unity, wisdom, and the spirit to inspire others. Your father's blood flows in you, Kale, and you, Lyra, have grown beyond what I could have imagined. Together you embody hope for Aloria." Lyra and Kale exchanged a glance, feeling the weight of her mother's words. They had faced danger, uncertainty, and disbelief, yet they had emerged stronger. They were no longer just individuals. They were a team, a family, and symbols of what could be achieved when courage, intelligence, and heart united. The following days were filled with rebuilding. The defeated factions were brought into peace talks, and Kale's strategies helped establish new agreements that ensured stability across the system. Humans, once underestimated, began to earn respect among the alien civilizations. Kale's presence had changed perceptions, proving that adaptability, Courage and ingenuity could stand alongside strength and tradition. Lyra stood beside her father as the council honored them. Warriors, leaders, and citizens applauded, recognizing the unique bond that had saved their worlds. The laughter that had once echoed at Kale's arrival was replaced by admiration and respect. "You know," Lyra said quietly, watching the celebrations, "I never thought I would find a father in a human. But now, I couldn't imagine anyone else." Kale smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "And I never imagined I would find a daughter in an alien warrior. Yet here you are, strong, brave, and inspiring. You have taught me as much as I have taught you." The twin moons rose over the citadel, casting a serene light on the crystal spires. Kale and Lyra stood together, looking out over the city that had once doubted them. Now it celebrated them. They knew challenges would come again, but they also knew that together they could face anything. Solara joined them, her expression full of pride. "The galaxy is vast and dangers will always exist, but the courage and unity you have shown will inspire generations to come. Remember this lesson. Strength is not just in might, but in heart, mind, and spirit. Humans, aliens, and together we are unstoppable." Lyra nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment she had never known. She had laughed at the human warrior, doubted his abilities, and questioned her own beliefs. But now she understood the truth. Greatness came in many forms, and the human spirit was one of the most powerful she had ever witnessed. Kale looked at her, eyes bright. "We have a future to protect, Lyra, a future to shape. Together, we will honor the past and build something even greater." As the citizens of Aloria celebrated, Kale and Lyra stood side by side, ready for the adventures, challenges, and discoveries that lay ahead. They had proven that courage, unity, and the human spirit could overcome any obstacle. They had shown that strength was not only measured in power, but in heart, wisdom, and the will to protect others. And in the glow of the twin moons, father and daughter, human and alien, warrior and strategist, knew that together they had begun a new legacy, one that would shine across the stars for generations to come.